All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Video Wednesday with me, Ellen Therese. Today we're talking again. I have more recommendations that we're hopefully going to get into, but today the person that wins is Kurt Wolf, my very good friend whom I love very much and has been in a lot of theater shows with me. He asked me to talk about my experience with theater and offer any advice to people who are interested in getting into theater. So first we're going to nail talking about my experience, and then we're going to get into offering any advice to people who are interested in it. So I thought the best thing, instead of just like reading you my resume, which is basically what I'm going to do, I'm also going to give you sort of like things that I learned in these shows so that hopefully you can understand sort of like where I'm coming from when I say in the end like all the things that I say or whatever. We'll see where we get. So music and theater for me started when I was really little. Theater started when I was in second grade, and I actually explored it when I was in second grade and then fourth grade and then senior year. And so I was in music and choir the majority of my younger years and sports. And then once I got to high school, it was like, oh no, theater and music are totally where it's at. So I was a grandma bunny in second grade. It was the highlight of my life. If you can imagine little Ellen, I wish I had a picture of it. I don't. But it was really fun. And I remember it was like I had literally 2 lines, but it was like people were looking at me and they were paying attention, and like there I was as my little cute grandma bunny, and I walked out on stage with my grandpa bunny, and it was so fun and so cute. So it's funny because my father was one of the people that was very interested in theater my whole life. And so what's really cool is when I was in elementary school to middle school, my father was the principal of my school for like the last half of that. When he was a teacher, and I was in third grade, he wanted to start a like musical theater program and start doing some like theater in this school because they didn't have any at that point. And so they approved, at this Catholic school, they approved Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So we did that show, and it was like one of the most fun things ever. And I remember I was in third grade, and they brought in this director from community theater, Jonathan Pennington. Shout out to Jonathan, love you. And literally they brought him in and we did Joseph. And so I remember I was in third grade and I was literally playing a wife in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, because that's how little people we had that were like willing to be involved in theater at this point. We had this tiny group of like 25 kids. We had Joseph, and we had like all the narrators and stuff like that, and then everyone else was wives. And so it was really cool, like the brothers and the wives and whatever. And so I got to play a wife, and I was the color red, when it was red and yellow and green and brown and scarlet and black and ochre and peach and ruby and olive and violet and fawn and lilac and gold and chocolate and mauve, cream and crimson and silver and rose. And I think I messed it up, but you true Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat fans will know how the rest of that goes, and you're going to be frustrated with me for not getting that right. But every time a red color went up, I would have to put my thing up. It was red and yellow and green and brown and scarlet and black and ochre and peach and ruby and olive. So I was in The Wizard of Oz. So I was in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. This is a mess, but we're going to leave it. I love it. So Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And that was really cool. So like one of the things that I first learned there is just being in a group of people and hearing people sing and learning music together is just fun for me. I love being in choir. I love learning music. I love hearing the voices. I love the camaraderie that happens. And especially when you're in a choir, they've literally done research that your heart syncs up with the beat of the music. So I truly believe that happens in theater too. If you're all in your mastermind and you're all committing 110% to that moment, to that thing, and you believe it, it's there. So I think that's the coolest thing about theater is like you can make something out of nothing. Suddenly there's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat up on stage in front of you, and boom, you believe it. You believe his brother sold him into slavery. It's like so after that same guy that directed had his own community theater. Jonathan Pennington runs, I think still, or no, he's in New York now. But he did run the Woodlawn Theater in San Antonio, Texas for a very long time. So he did an amazing job. And one of the things that they did, like 2 years later after Joseph, was The Wizard of Oz. So I did The Wizard of Oz in community theater. And one of the things that I learned there, like the most important lesson, on top of like everyone's coming from different places and like everyone's coming from wherever they're at, and they're all joining in today, and that's the thing that we have in common, that we all want to be here and we all want to do this and blah blah whatever. But the thing that's really cool about the Wizard of Oz is there's this moment where there's a part in the show, right, where her house goes up and she's in the tornado, and then she has to land in the Munchkin City, right? And so while the tornado's happening, there was this part where this girl got to put on like a grandma costume, and she was like crocheting or whatever, stitching, like while getting like thrown across the stage like in a rocking chair, just like pretending like she didn't know what was happening. And I remember complaining to someone about her having that role and me not having it and blah 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 whatever, and she actually heard me talking shit, and she goes, well, do you want it? Because you can have it. I have a quick change anyway, so it's easier for me to not. And I was like, oh, yes I do. So even though it was a shitty way to learn this lesson, because I ended up, that girl heard me talking about it, like, and it wasn't her fault that she got it and I didn't. And so what was really cool is that I learned that if you have something that you want, you have to ask for it. You have to ask for it, because when they're handing out roles and they're telling you where to go and where to sit and where to stand, like, they don't think you care. They honestly don't. They think you're happy to be there, blah, blah, whatever. So if you specifically want to stand in the front, stand in the fucking front. If you specifically want to be that old lady that goes across the street, you make sure you raise your hand during that part and you go, hey, I would love to do that. I would love it. I would love to do that too. Absolutely. Okay, so I did some, like community theater. We did like The Wizard of Oz and stuff like that. And I remember watching my dad in a couple more shows with the Woodlawn, and it was really, really fun just to be involved in a community theater, where you could go and watch live theater, So I didn't get back involved into theater until high school. So when I was a freshman, when I was a sophomore, I actually auditioned my freshman year and I didn't get in, and it was a whole thing. And I was like, Little Shop of Horrors is my least favorite show now, because that's the show that I didn't get into. We've made up since then, me and that show, but still, it's a touchy subject. So, sophomore year, I applied for Footloose, and so I got into Footloose, and I was just in the chorus, and it was fun, whatever. But it was like one of those things where what I learned is that my choir teacher believed in me a lot, and she was one of the reasons that I auditioned again, and I was like, okay, I'll try this year, and blah, blah, whatever. And when I showed up to the auditions, I was wearing like sweatpants, and I didn't have any makeup on, and I wasn't showing any confidence, and I didn't actually sing that well, like if we're really looking at it. And so it was really weird, because I remember her coming up to me after and being like, why didn't you like give that 110%? And I didn't even know that I hadn't given it 110% because I was so scared. And so like, just remember that whenever you're going into anything, like, this goes into the advice part as well. Like, they don't know you. Like, you have to walk in the way that you're going to rehearse, the way that you're going to perform, the way that you're going to operate with them, and you have to show up your best self, looking as great as you can, and you have to show them what it is that you can do, because they don't know. They cannot pull it out of you in 10 minutes. They cannot be like, oh, well, that girl's nice, so like maybe we'll give her the lead and hope that she figures it out. Like, no, they're going to pick the girl that nailed every single thing next to you, and they're going to give her the role because they know she can. So you have to nail it too. You have to be like, I can do this. This is mine. I am here. Yes. So we keep going through high school, right? And what's funny is we move all the way to Wisconsin. So now I live in Milwaukee. Well, I live in Pewaukee, Wisconsin now, but we move all the way to Elm Grove, Wisconsin. So for sake of ease, we're going to call it Milwaukee, because most people don't know that Wisconsin is broke up into like tiny, tiny, tiny little towns all over the place. So when I say Milwaukee, that's a general area that you'll understand that I live in the region of. So yes, we moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I went to my junior and senior year of high school all the way up there. So not only on top of a culture shock, but boom, more theater. So what's really cool is I learned from a very young age, after going through like 7 different schools in my career, from like first through senior year, that if you want to make friends, you have to join things. And so I always joined choir, and then I started joining theater. And so what's funny is my junior year of high school, guess what show we're doing? Frickin' Wizard of Oz again. Wizard of Oz again. So I'm like, I know this show backwards and forwards. Tell me what part you want me to sing, because I know them all. Like, I know all the songs, all the lines, all the things. Tell me the blocking. I got it. So it was really fun, because obviously, like, I did not get a lead. I was in the chorus. They didn't know me. I was a junior, but I was still pretty shy, and I was just happy to be involved. I was just happy to have something to do after school. I was happy to be making friends, talking to people, having stuff to do, whatever. So my senior year of high school, I thought, oh, this is it. I'm going to get a lead. I'm going to do it. It's going to be amazing. Nope. There were people who were much better than me, and I'm so glad that they did, because those shows were so fun to be a part of because of those people. It all works out in the end anyway. But what's really cool is I ended up being like lead chorus, right? Because they were like, oh, Ellen, we love you so much, but like we didn't have like a role for you, but here's this, you did so amazing. So lead chorus, whatever. I was in charge of everyone else. So it's fine. I'm a good leader in some senses. So I go into How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and it was like one of the most fun shows to put on, because you're back in like your 1960s, like pencil skirts or whatever. Is it 60s, 20s, 30s? I'm not sure what the year is, but it's pencil skirts and it's like Mad Max time. Am I right? No. Pencil skirts and I'm going to keep saying pencil skirts apparently. But yeah, you know what I mean? Back in the office. Mad Men, that's what it is. Mad Men. Back into like the Mad Men set of like How to Succeed in Business. So it's really cool, because I remember I didn't get any parts, like I said. I was just lead chorus. And so I was there all the time because I was learning how to block things and blah, blah, whatever. And so one of the days that I was there, we actually had this part come up where there's like two cleaning ladies that are supposed to walk across the stage and say like 2 or 3 lines, and no one had been cast to do that. And so I'm in the room and they're like, oh shoot, we need someone to play this cleaning lady. And I'm just like, me! So I go to play this cleaning lady, and what's funny is I worked on it, and they were like, oh, what if we like made you a smoker? What if we like gave you a funny voice? Like, what if blah, 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 whatever. And so I literally took this role and I made it like this funny smoker cleaning lady voice. So it's like, this trash is all over the place, Mike Wazowski. Excuse me. And literally, like, I just remember, like, the thing that I learned in that show is that there are literally no small parts. There are only small actors, because everyone is looking at every single person on the stage, and they're noticing whether or not you're believing. They are noticing whether or not you care. They're noticing whether or not you are a part of this movie mastermind thing that they're doing and seeing. So when I came across that stage and that smoker lady little thing, what's really great is that people actually said like, oh my gosh, that was one of my favorite parts. Like, oh, you were one of my favorite parts. Oh, I loved that part, blah, blah, whatever. 3 lines that I was on the stage by myself, and that was something that people remembered. So you have to remember, if you commit fully to the little things that you're given, sometimes those things will be the ones that people remember. Like, that's what's really cool about theater, is like sometimes magic happens in like a look, So I took 4 years off. I didn't go to college. I didn't go to theater. I didn't do anything. I just chilled, worked, did my thing. And I was like, I don't know what the meaning in my life is. And so then I found it out again. And I was like, you know what? Theater is the meaning in my life. I really love it. I love music. I need to get involved, and I have to. So every time I saw a show, my heart would fall out of my chest, and it would like try to jump on the stage with them and like learn the dances and stuff. I'm just like, I need to be up there. I can't do this anymore. And so I finally was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so now we get all the way to the part where I meet Curtis Wolf. So I apply for Spring Awakening. It happens to be in West Bend, Rogue Stage Theater. Shout out to them and Graham and Erica and Amy and all them. But yeah, we did Spring Awakening, and it was one of the coolest things that I have ever experienced, because I remember it was my first show as an adult with a bunch of other sort of like adults coming together. There was a couple like 17, 18-year-olds, but like mostly adults putting on this show, and really committing just fully to the fact that this show is deep and dark and heavy. If you don't know or are not familiar with Spring Awakening, there's talks of abortion, there's suicide, there's themes of like adults messing up and children feeling lost and alone, and high school and how to get through grades and stuff like that. And so it's just like one of those things where like you tear your heart out and you put it back together over and over and over again, just so that people understand the beauty of the music and the scenes and the story, So it was really special, and we created such a mastermind together, and it was just magic. For like 4 months of my life, I was just surrounded by magic all the time. And then I knew it was where I was supposed to be. I was like, this is it. Yeah, I need to be continuing to do community theater. So I kept going, Spring Awakening, and then I went into Evita with connections. I went into Candy Cane Tales and Holiday Carols and had my 2 first solos. I lost my cat, I went through a confidence battle with myself and stuff like that. And then I went back to Rogue Stage and I got a lead as Karen, one of the supporting actresses. Augusto County is like a family drama basically, and it's so freaking amazing. You get to tear apart this family and how they work and whatever, and I was the youngest daughter of 3, and it was fun just to like play the youngest because I'm the oldest in my life, so being the youngest was really fun. And this girl, she wore like leopard print and she had heels on all the time, and she had red nails and red lips and blue eyeshadow and pink cheeks, just like real like ghetto-ish looking or whatever. Not ghetto, real no, she just was special. And so that was like what was really cool about her is she lived her little life and she did her little thing, and going into her bubble of life was really freaking fun. And I learned there that I enjoy monumentally tearing apart a role and figuring out what's going on with that person and trying to figure out like why they're doing the things that they're doing and the intentions behind them and how people operate with each other. Like, why do people work together the way they do? Why do they say the things they do? Why do you want these things from people? How are you going about getting those things from people? It's so fun and cool. So the last show that I did was Jekyll and Hyde, and that was right before quarantine. I was actually working on a show. I was working on Godspell before quarantine hit, and we actually were forced to shut down. So Jekyll and Hyde in 2019, the like summer show, was the last like full show that I did, and I really miss it. I really, really miss theater, but this is me right here. This is me trying to get out some of that like energy of like, oh my gosh, I need something to work on and somewhere to be and people to talk to and stuff like that. So okay, so that's my experience with theater. Number 2, offer any advice to people who are interested in theater. So the thing that sucks right now is that we are in the middle of a quarantine and a pandemic in our lives. And so the things that you can do to be creative now are a little bit, they're just starting to open back up, right? Theaters are just starting to allow people to practice 6 feet apart and have shows where people are sitting 6 feet apart in the audience and stuff like that. So one step at a time here, as we're all feeling safe together, we're working towards it. But the thing is when we finally get back to like some sort of standard of auditioning and whatever, then what you need to remember is that I guess my best advice is always think of the show from the director's perspective. So like if you're the director of a show, what you're doing is a year down the road, right? Or a year previous to even having people auditioning in front of you. You're thinking about sets, you're thinking about costumes, you're thinking about what it's going to look like, how much money it's going to cost, how many people are you going to need to do it, how many people do you need on the crew, what is it going to look like, how are they going to feel, how are they going to flow, how are they going to sound, who's going to be in charge of the music, who's in charge of choreography, is there going to be dancing in this show? All of these things, they're all thinking about all at the same time, right? So it's like when you get into a room with a director and you get in front of them, you have to remember, like, they are not looking at you and judging you and saying like, oh my gosh, this person is such a shitty actor, or oh, this person's amazing and I love them forever, or oh, I hate her shoes, or blah, blah, whatever. They are literally looking for their piece of magic, right, in their show. So what sucks and is great about acting, right, is that we all start at zero. Every single time you go to audition for a show, even though, we all start at zero. So that means that when you go into a show, you have the same advantage as someone else, right? It just means that whatever magic fits into whatever hole is how it's going to work. And so you have to just trust the fact that when directors are casting shows, even if you don't agree with anything they chose, even if you don't agree with anything that they're doing, what I have learned every single time is that when a director picks people that I disagree with, I always agree with them by the end. So that means that whatever they are seeing in you, whatever they are seeing in other people, whatever they are seeing, it has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with the show and the magic of what that is going to be, that end product, because that's what's most important, right? That mastermind that we show to people and we tell them why this is important and why you should be listening to us sing and dance and be here and use our time for this is because it matters, because it's beautiful, because that's how stories are told, that's how we connect. So literally just think of it from the perspective of a director. And then on top of that, what do directors like? They like people that show up, right? Just like a boss, they like people that show up on time. They like people that work hard. They like people that are always going to be there. They like people that are smiling, whatever. So that means that when you do eventually get into a show, because you will, community theater is very lucrative. You can always find something to do, and it's super fun. Literally go online, Google auditions. There is Actors of Wisconsin on Facebook, and then there's also like Waukesha. There's literally go on Facebook and just look up acting auditions in your area, because there's Southeast Wisconsin, there's Northeast Wisconsin, there's acting auditions in the whole of Wisconsin and stuff like that. So you can literally find so many things that people are posting all the time. And right now there's a lot of opportunities to do like cabaret style like video versions. So they're doing Waukesha. My friend just got into their like villains show. Shout out Kara. And so that's like super, super cool. So even though we don't have the same opportunities right now to like go and audition every single 3 months and every other week and be in shows and be next to people and stuff like that, this is still something that's really wonderful and important and whatever. So, so I mean, besides that, as far as getting involved in theater, just remember that these are people. And when you go into a show, make sure that you connect with every single person that you can, because you have no idea what connections people can bring you. And I'm not saying that you should go in looking to use everyone and, you know, see what you can get out of them and stuff like that. What I am saying, though, is that you can use people for what they are. And if you have friendships with people, that means that they're going to tell you about their shows. So then, boom, you've got a connection there. If you have a director that you like working with and he has a show next year, he's going to think of you for his next event, right? Because he liked how you worked with him here. If you meet a choreographer that you like, boom, work with them really well so that the next time they're doing a show, they can be like, oh, you know who I really liked working with? Boom, there. Because after you get into the show, it's not about what your part was. It's not about how, like, famous you are after or whatever. It's legitimately, in every single moment, how hard did you work? How much did you cooperate? How much did you help? How much did you support? Like, or how much did you tear the team down? You know what I mean? It's like one weak link, and it changes everything. Literally everything changes from one person. So you have to remember, if you get into a show, you are part of the link. For a reason, you are here. So, this has probably been like a 20-minute video, but that's okay. My Curtis Wolf. So, thank you so much for listening to me talk again, if you've gotten all the way here. This is my experiences with theater. Theater is literally, it's just everything to me. Like, it just is. Like, I couldn't not talk about theater. So literally, shout out to every single person that has ever been in a show with me, because you have affected my life greatly, no matter whether we talked once or a million times, you know? So whether I did your makeup or I, you know, only saw you without, whether we danced next to each other or, you know, or we didn't, like, literally every single person has inspired me in some way and has taught me something. And whether it's people who you want to aspire to be, or people who you want to work with later, or people who you just want to be close to, there's so many of them in theater. And so it's like one of those things where you can just show up, be yourself, and they're literally my people. You know how they say to find your people in the world? It's like, theater people are my people. Theater people are the only people that will finish a song when I start singing it, will finish a line from a show that only I knew about, I thought, you know, laugh with me about something ridiculous, crawl around on the ground like cats and dogs and goats and stuff like that, you know? So it's just one of those things where the connection that's allowed is beautiful. So yeah, I recommend getting involved in theater as soon as we can. Seriously, the second there's a show that I can audition for, I'm there. So, this has been Ellen Therese with I Couldn't Not. All right, I Couldn't Not with Ellen Therese. We'll see you next week with another video. I'm still not sure what category I'm picking, so I'm not going to say yet. But thanks so much for being here, you guys, and I love you, and I will see you next week. Okay. Okay, bye.